Okay, today I want to cover how to pull vacuum on the coolant system, and the real common issue on the Wrangler with the 3.6 engine in there is that you're gonna find that when you flush the coolant or you change the thermostat or you change anything in the coolant system, it's gonna trap air in the engine, and there's pockets of air that get caught up in the engine and or the lines that go from the radiator to the engine to the heater core, within the block, the heads, everything. So this particular engine on the Wrangler is really, it's a well-known issue that whenever you touch the coolant system, you're gonna have to either pull vacuum or you're gonna have to remove the air somehow in the system. And really the only way to get this done, right the first time is to pull a vacuum on it. You wanna pull about 25 to 30 pounds, and then you wanna check it to see if it holds that vacuum, because you're going to do two things with that. You're gonna not only check the system for leaks by pulling vacuum, but you're also going to pull all the air out of the system by pulling the vacuum, right? So that's the 2 points of doing this. The other main thing to remember is that before you start using this tool, this is just a vacuum coolant system vacuum tool. You can get these online. I'm not going to sell you on a particular brand, but the point is you can get these online fairly affordable, and you want to get one if you're going to work on a Wrangler with the 3.6 in it, because you're going to need this. And if you don't have this, what will happen is that you will have air trapped in there most likely, and you will get a scenario where the coolant overflow becomes a little bit over time. Some of the coolant gets left behind when it cools. And then eventually enough coolant is left behind where there's too much coolant in the overflow and not enough coolant back into the radiator in the coolant system itself after it cools. And then you'll never recover from that. It'll just be air locked in the coolant system, and it'll eventually overheat. Nothing's wrong with the coolant system. It just has air that gets trapped in there that needs to be pulled out. So the way you want to hook this up is you want to load. The real big pointer I can give you on this is preload the fill line with coolant before you pull full vacuum on the system, right? So what that means is that don't leave this line empty when you get to full vacuum and then think you're going to open up the fill line and not have an issue, because you're going to take in a whole line's worth of air before you get to the coolant, right? So that's a real tip I can offer, is that as soon as you start to pull vacuum on this, just crack the fill port on it and then preload that tube with coolant, and then you close the fill port and let the vacuum draw in the system for about an hour. It takes about an hour to pull 30 pounds on this, and you want to get at least 25 on that. And if you can't get to 25 or 30, which is better, but let's say 25, if you can't get there, then you have a coolant system leak, right? And you're pulling air from the outside versus vacuuming the air out through this vacuum pump. The way this works is just a simple air hose connection that you would connect on top, so you can have like a 30 pound or any size air compressor that's going to run, and you want to set the air compressor to over 100 pounds as far as it will go. I put it 120 on that one, and let it run for about an hour. It'll fill the air tank, and it will run this air vacuum pump, which is in here, and that will pull your vacuum slowly over time. And after about an hour, you'll see about 25 to 30 pounds. Once you get there, that's when you close the valve for the fill, or for the vacuum, and then you start cracking the valve on the fill, and that will draw the coolant from your your canister into your radiator. And then once it gets down to zero, there's no more room, there's no more air, and there's a full thing of coolant in the radiator, and you're good to go. So this is really one of the things that you want to try to do on a Wrangler if you can. The other way to do this is just to kind of run the engine and then try to get the air to burp out of the radiator naturally. But that doesn't really happen on this for some reason. The Wrangler with the Pentastar, it's just real problematic once you flush the system. There's no easy way to get this air out. So I would recommend try this if you have to, if you're having cooling system issues where you find that the reservoir tends to pick up an inch each day as you park it at night. In the morning, check it, it's an inch higher, an inch higher. Eventually it'll overheat because that coolant's not making its way back into the cooling system. It's staying in the reservoir, which is bad. So that's my advice on this. And if you have any questions on my channel, just please reach out.